It's been over 9 months since Operation Sindhoor, but the effects of India's debilitating strikes on Pakistan are still very much visible. India's actions were decisive and overwhelming, but one aspect of India's offensive action has remained in the shadows. A perceived attack on a Pakistani nuclear facility buried under the Kirana Hills. And I know that name sounds familiar. Did it happen? Did it not? Well, now 9 months later, the world's most sought-after aviation historian and analyst, Tom Cooper, has spoken out in a social media post, making a startling claim. Not only does he believe that there is compelling evidence that the Indian Air Force consciously struck the Kirana Hills, but that its continued silence on the strikes on that nuclear facility is inexplicable. So why does this matter now? Well, because Tom Cooper isn't just anyone. Him personally reigniting a debate about what may have been the central, most decisive strike of those 88 hours makes many things potentially very clear. And that's why I have with me today none other than Tom Cooper himself to separate evidence from speculation and to ask what we actually know about the Kirana Hills operation. Tom, welcome. Always a pleasure to have you here on NDTV. I'm going to start straight off, Tom, referring to your post on social media. You've said the Indian Air Force struck the Pakistani Kirana Hills on, in May 2025. What is the one piece of evidence, Tom, that makes you confident that this actually happened?
Well, the fact, hello, let me start in decent way. Hello, thank you very much for inviting me. What is one piece of evidence? The fact that there is not just one piece of evidence, but several pieces of evidence. There are at least 2 videos, or even more, taken by Pakistanis and spread into Pakistani social media, showing contrails from missiles coming in, diving down up onto their target, hitting the hillside of Kirana Hills. Additionally, later on, a video surfaced showing smoke rising from the radar station of, I think it is 4091st Squadron Pakistani Air Force. So this is one of the principal radar stations of the Pakistani Air Force. And the evidence is so clear that the Indian Air Force has hit these radar stations first to disable the Pakistani capability to counter its attack, and then hit at least 2 places, 2 entrances to underground storage facilities. And Kirana Hills, I mean, this is like talking about Kahuta. It's one of the centerpieces of the Pakistani nuclear program. They run something like 24 non-critical nuclear tests over there. I mean, it's not Disneyland, sorry for expression. So it's a place you hit when you want to send a clear message without causing, let's say this way, too much damage. It means, listen guys, over there in Pakistan, we can hit you severely where we want, as we want, whenever we want, with as much ammunition as we want. Stop it finally. And considering the timing of that strike, and when one cross-checks then what was happening in the background on the diplomatic scene, how Islamabad was meanwhile calling Washington, calling New Delhi, and de facto begging for a ceasefire. Of course, it was not literally begging for a ceasefire. It was using all the possible other means or expressions, but eventually that was that. Pakistan was finished by then. Its Operation Bunyan Massus has failed. It was blocked by Indian air defense and then by this massive strike that morning. So the situation was crystal clear. There was, when you hit such an area, such a position, such a installation, you can hit whatever you want, as much as you like, whenever you want, and as you like, de facto. That is, it cannot be clearer anymore.
This is very important, Tom, because as you've seen, immediately after Operation Sindhoor and since as well, the Indian Air Force has taken a position of not commenting at all on these strikes on the Kirana Hills. They've said, they've basically insinuated that they had no idea what is under there. They haven't confirmed that they've struck there. What do you make of that?
Well, I'm confused to say it in simplest possible fashion, because it is making no sense to deny the obvious. I mean, this is like denying that the sun is coming up in the east. For whom is that making sense? And Pakistanis are certainly not having fun blowing up their radar stations and entrances to underground facilities. Okay, one can now discuss whether this was precise hit on the underground on the entrance to this underground facility or not. Perhaps it is so that the tunnel is going to the left or the right, so the Indians actually targeted the tunnel behind it. We don't know right now, and it is actually pointless to discuss. Fact is, there were hits, at least 2, if not 3, at the entrances or the underground facilities, and there was a hit at the radar station. There's nothing more one needs to know in this regards. And as I said already in May last year, you don't target such places without knowing that the enemy or the other side cannot strike back. Without having absolute certainty, in this case Pakistan cannot hit back. So that is why I, at the time, declared the entire affair clear-cut victory for India.
Yeah.
And because it is absolutely clear for me who has won this war, thanks to this operation. Now, why is the Indian Air Force denying it again? Absolutely unclear. But then I would have additional things to complain about the public relations work of the Indian Air Force. This is a different story.
That is correct. That is an ongoing debate here in India as well. My third question to you, Tom, is,
Yes.
are your conclusions based mainly on videos from social media? There was a lot of misinformation during the conflict. How did you independently verify that the footage you're citing is authentic and from that day? Because that is what those trying to question you will push back with. They will say, how are you so sure of your conclusions?
Look, on one side, there were reports from the area, including the videos, so there is visual evidence, and this is undeniable. On the other side, of course, there are personal contacts. It's just the nature of personal contacts is something I cannot discuss in the public, because it would threaten their own safety. And that is where I'm going to stop in this regards.
Pakistan has never officially called the Kirana Hills a nuclear site, as you know, Tom. What makes you believe it stores nuclear weapons or missiles? I did hear your Disneyland metaphor, but can you flesh that out a little bit?
Well, there is this bulletin of the atomic scientists published in the United States, and they say they are assessing it as a nuclear weapon storage facility, Kirana Hills. Additionally to that, of course, I have taken a look, the same kind of look several analysts in India have done in the public, published it on the social media. The gentleman in question is doing excellent work. It is really amazing what kind of stuff are they finding. So it is, when you find 40 hardened shelters, 2 maintenance facilities, what is that? Something like 50 or more entrances to underground facilities. When you know the history of the site, with, I said, 20 plus non-critical nuclear tests in the past and so on. I mean, again, it is not a fun park. It is a nuclear facility for testing purposes, for storage purposes, and so on. It might not be, there is no reactor over there, but it doesn't mean there are no nuclear weapons over there. What is another point is, why do you store tactical ballistic missiles at this facility? What would be their purpose if there are no nuclear warheads nearby? Why is Sargodha one of the principal facilities for the Pakistani Air Force, for its F-16s and so on, 7 kilometers away from Kirana Hills? Why do you train an entire squadron of these F-16s in delivery of nuclear weapons if you don't have a storage facility near this complex? So where is the storage facility? What is the better storage facility in this area but Kirana Hills with all of its tunnels, hardened shelters, 3 complexes of ammunition depots, and so on and so on?
In the course of your inquiries, Tom, through your sources and through all the evidence that you have before you, do we know whether anything critical underground was actually damaged in these strikes?
No, that is something the contacts wouldn't say, and I'm not insisting. As I said, it is enough that the contacts remain in contact, that they are okay, they are alive and safe. This is paramount, because without contacts, or if one is endangering them for the purpose of sensationalism or whatever, I don't need to work anymore. So they do not say crystal clear disregards, oh, this or that was damaged. They said that the place was hit. That is enough. Thank you very much.
If this was a nuclear-linked facility, and you are convinced it is, many of us are as well, wouldn't such a strike, Tom, risk a serious escalation between two nuclear-armed countries? Or do you believe that the strikes were just enough, to convince Pakistan that they needed to sue for a ceasefire as quickly as possible?
You have to consider these strikes on Kirana Hills within the context of what was going on that day, that morning, that night, and that morning and that day. As first, Pakistan launched its Operation Banyan al-Marsus. What happened? Well, perhaps one or two of its missiles went through. The rest was shot down. UAVs were shot down. Everything that was sent in India's way was shot down. Several Pakistani Air Force jets were shot down. Pilots were killed, and so on and so on. So this operation was a complete failure. It was stopped in its... They have lined up an entire, I think it was a battalion or more of Fatah battlefield ballistic missiles, or short-range ballistic missiles, however you want to call them, tactical ballistic missiles. They fired dozens of them into India, and all were shot down. And then the Indian Air Force was sent into this counter-strike, hit what was that, 12 or 13 air bases, and Pakistan was still trying. And then came the strike on Kirana Hills. And, with this action, you make it clear to the opponent, you can't do anything. You are finished. You can fire whatever you like at us, and we are still going to shut down everything coming our way and hit you very hard. And if you continue, we are going to hit you even harder, because we can, and you can't. Again, clear-cut victory alone because of this. And this is what then has recently brought New Delhi to stop the operation and say, okay, no ceasefire, but a break in the operations. Why? Because beyond that point, India could escalate further, but it was not necessary, because Pakistan was the one who was calling for ceasefire, not India. So this is one side of your question. The other part of your question is the possible escalation. It is impossible to further escalate, except India would have hit Pakistan even more. Why is it impossible to escalate? Because whatever was Pakistan shooting at India, including ballistic missiles, intermediate range and medium range ballistic missiles, were shot down over, what was it, Havara that morning. So this means India was still ready to defend itself and was shooting down whatever came its way. So Pakistan had no other means to left to hurt India. But India, obviously, demonstratively, clearly had the means to hit Pakistan very, very hard. Correspondingly, there was no danger of escalation.
Tom, what kind of, coming down to some of the technical aspects, what kind of aircraft or standoff weapons would the Indian Air Force have needed to carry out the kind of precision strikes that you're describing? Would they have been the same weapons that were used, in the other airstrikes that were conducted? No.
You had Su-30s launching Brahmos and Rampage, air-launched ballistic missiles of Israeli origin and Brahmos of foreign origin. You had Jaguars launching Rampage air-launched ballistic missiles. You had Rafales launching Scalps and so on. This was perfectly enough. And you can see this also. The news was just yesterday that India is ordering another huge shipment of similar arms from Israel, including not only Rampage, but also, what is that, El Lora or ROX. It's also an air-launched ballistic missile, which we can now expect to see being installed, for example, on Su-30s, because they are big enough for such a load. So nothing really exotic or special, that nothing new in terms of it was unknown before May of 2025. Indian Air Force already had all of this. The question was just how far is it integrated, on what types, and how is it going to deploy. What is also something special, if you like. What many people are obviously not aware of. It is not even that important anymore nowadays to have stealth aircraft and whatever kind of super turbo fighter jets or whatever, but their weaponry is important. Firstly, and even more important actually is the integration of the entire system of command and control system. India was proved superior in this war precisely because its integrated air defense system was so much superior to the Pakistani. Why was it superior? It has survived all the Pakistani cyber attacks. It has survived overpowered Pakistani electronic warfare, and it remained capable of not only countering everything that was coming its way in terms of Pakistani air-launched ballistic missiles, air-launched cruise missiles, ground-launched tactical ballistic missiles, whatever, UAVs, whatever was sent the Indian way, in most of cases, 100% of it was shot down. So it was very rarely that something came through. This is one point, and the other point is to simultaneously coordinate such a massive operation like by Indian Air Force on the morning of the 10th, and to hit Pakistan that hard. So this is something that people are not understanding enough, where the Indian Air Force might want to explain this a little bit better in the public, to its public. Listen, guys, we have developed a fantastic integrated air defense system. We can use it for our defense. We can use it for offense as well. And we are doing that with success, I said. And now, please be so kind and spend more taxpayers' money in order to further bolster this system, because this is something you can't stop working on an integrated air defense system. If you stop, 2 days later, it's obsolete.
Yeah.
So you have to continue improving it. That is crucial in this case. So Pakistan can now buy, 200 J-20s and whatever else. Indian air defense system is still good enough to detect this one way or the other, because there's plentiful of built-in redundancy in this system. So there are so many different radars that one of them would pick it up, one or another type, not just one radar station. So sooner or later you are picking them up, and when you pick up, stealth is no stealth anymore, and then it's in trouble. It's as simple as that. So hanging on every word, what the Chinese are saying, what the Pakistanis are saying, this is also a wrong idea, for the public at least. Focus on what matters. I said, an excellent integrated air defense system and fighters equipped with long-range weaponry which can hit the Pakistanis without the Pakistanis having the ability to hit back. That's what matters. Yeah. Because in the total end, in grand total, the side which is delivering more high explosives on the other side is winning wars like this one. It's as simple as that.
I just want to push you a little further on that, Tom, on precisely that point. There's this constant debate about how, India is left without any stealth fighters. China already has them. Pakistan's going to get some soon. India is about to commit to 114 more Rafale fighters, which are not purpose-built stealth fighters. But you're saying it shouldn't be a cause of alarm for India, as long as it focuses on the integration of the entire air defense system, and how all these systems work together. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, it might appear silly on one side. On one side, I'm criticizing Indian Air Force for its poor PR work. No doubt it belongs being criticized. Excuse me, gentlemen, I'm sorry for you all, and ladies as well, of course, but you're not doing good work in this. But as much as this is poor, what they are doing in regards of war fighting, how they develop their integrated air defense system, how do they combine all of these different weaponry from France, from Russia, from India, from Israel, into a system which is so highly effective, like what Indian Air Force and, of course, let's not forget, Indian Army has shown last year. It's fantastic. It works. I've seen dozens of other countries, I've been places and seen dozens of other countries trying to develop such integrated air defense systems and having troubles or even failing miserably. Cost overruns, decades of development and not working, crashing at every opportunity. I mean, I can tell you specific problems, for example, with the Russian integrated air defense system, but there are something like 7 or 8 different protocols which cannot communicate with each other, where the system is crashing if you take out one SAM battery out of it and such things, or if it's destroyed or hit in the combat. So, but this in India survived everything Pakistan has thrown at it. Now, of course, there is a question if it would perform as well in regards of confrontation with China. I don't know. We will have to see, because the Chinese have also a very good integrated air defense system.
Yeah.
But the fact is, the Indian is working, and that's what matters. This is confirmed. Now it has to be developed in regards of, if necessary, surviving not only another confrontation with Pakistan, but also with China. That's what matters.
Tom Cooper, always a pleasure to have you. Thank you for your time here on NDTV. Great speaking.
Very much my pleasure. Thank you very much for the invitation, and have a nice evening.
You too. Thanks, Tom.